Good morning, everyone. We're so glad you're joining us today. I saw Crystal's beautiful face, and then she hit it again. I see Anna. Good morning. We're so glad that you're here. Um, I am not going to take a long time to introduce everybody. My name is Desiree Rested, which I always forget to tell you. I am the training developer and manager for the Montana Public Health Training Center. And today we are really excited to bring something new to our Pathways to Wellness. In the past, we've had a lot of Jen and we've had a lot of Lydia, but we have another team member that we're bringing to you today who's going to teach us all about movement. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Kaylee Julius.
Good morning. Thanks so much, Desiree. I'm so excited to be here in Missoula. I did not know it was supposed to snow, but it has kind of been dumping for the last couple of hours. So on this snowy morning with you all, my name is Kaylee Julius. My current role is actually I'm the Student Wellbeing Director at the University of Montana at the Curry Health Center. But I have a huge passion for movement and fitness. I've taught group fitness classes off and on for the last 15 years. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach by training. So I've spent most of my career really helping individuals kind of thrive in their well-being, whatever that means to them. So you'll get kind of a little taste of kind of all of my experience and background as we go through the session today. But before we get started, and I know most of you have your cameras off. If you do not want to have your camera on, I totally understand, but I would love either on mute and just kind of share with the group or in chat what you're hoping to get out of today. Like, why are you here? What are you interested in? What questions do you have? And I'll kind of view that quickly, or if you'd like to unmute. One of the kind of foundations of health and wellness coaching is meeting people where they're at. And so kind of, in order for me to be, for you all to feel like you're getting what you want to out of the session, and for me to, make sure I tailor this to you, I'd love to know why you're here and what you might want to get out of it. So I'm going to pause for a few minutes and let you all write in chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself, I'd love to hear from you.
I could come off chat real quick or come off mute real quick, Kaylee, while folks are adding to the chat. Thanks for organizing this today, Desiree and Kaylee. I can't wait to see what you have to share. For me, I think that most of my work is so sedentary. I was a teacher formerly before joining the team at UM, and I was a really active just professional at that time, because teaching is such an active role, being kind of all over the classroom. And so I find myself impacted by a primarily sedentary work life now. And so I'm hoping to just gain some tips and maybe some things to put into practice to kind of combat that newer sedentary work life.
Thanks so much for sharing, Anna. I know that many of us can relate to that for sure. Do a lot of sitting at our desks. Anyone else? I don't see anything else in chat. And that's okay. I'll just keep us moving along. I feel like I have somewhat of a pulse on this. I also, as we go throughout, there's definitely going to be some opportunities for you to drop questions in, engage with the content. I do have some kind of activities planned that are more personal activities that I'm going to have you do to kind of, create a plan for your movement in your life. So there'll be some time for you to engage with that way. The title of today's presentation or workshop is Movement is Medicine. And there's, I'm sure all of you are aware of the benefits of movement, really thinking about, movement as kind of one of the number one ways that we can prevent any sort of chronic illness and really feel healthy and well in our day-to-day lives. So with that, I'm gonna maybe move to the next slide here. Oh, not to two. So the goal for this workshop today is to empower you all with the knowledge and practical tools to incorporate movement into your daily lives, to improve your emotional, physical, well-being, mental, emotional, and physical well-being. So the specific objectives that we're going to cover, just go over the benefits of movement and fitness, some of which are probably not anything new, but sometimes it's just helpful to kind of remind yourself why you're doing this, why it's helpful. We're going to talk through some barriers that can get in the way or will get in the way of your movement. And we're going to explore different types of movement. We're going to do a little quiz to kind of help you learn more about the best type of movement for you and what that looks like. And then we're going to spend some time developing a personalized action plan, really honing in on kind of the science of behavior change. That's really in my skill set and background and passion, is like, how do we make sure that we're aligning our goals with what we're ready to do to ensure success? And then if we have some time and you're open to it, I'll either do a little exercise stretch demo or release you all to maybe go take a walk around the building and kind of reap those benefits of movement before the hour is up. So that is our plan, and I will just keep us moving on. So we're going to start with the benefits of movement. What are they? Kind of the basics of them are the physical and mental health that I have here. So I'm sure all of you are aware of, the risk, or reduces the risk for chronic disease, heart disease, diabetes, promotes healthy weight and physical fitness. Mental health, it's one of the best antidepressants out there, really works to reduce stress and anxiety, and improves mood and mental clarity almost instantaneously after movement is completed. One of the other things is related to stress is exercise is one of the most effective ways to complete our stress response. So we all are probably really familiar with kind of what physical symptoms happen in our bodies when we have a stressful event. We might feel increased heart rate, sweating potentially, kind of having trouble focusing. That's more of an acute stress response. And when that stress just kind of sits in our body and doesn't have a way to kind of get out, that's when we run into kind of more chronic stress issues that are getting in our day of our quality of life. So movement is one of the most effective ways to kind of, get that stress out. So, moving it through the body and, releasing it on. So if you can incorporate more regular movement into your days, then your kind of your baseline of stress is going to be automatically lowered because you have a way to kind of, get that out the door, if you will. There's also a lot of benefits workplace wise. So, you are all working in some kind of environment. So it really increases engagement with employees, really trying to, bring them more together, better communication, more engagement. And then it also, reduces sickness, of course, and overall healthcare costs. I want to pause for a second if anyone is willing to share what the benefits for movement are that you notice in yourself, or any just other benefits that you know of that maybe I didn't share. I know it's not a comprehensive list, it's just a few of the many.
I'll kind of go. I agree with the mental clarity and mood improvements. I started this past Sunday on our exercise bike, and just within the 20 minutes that I did it, I was like, wow, I feel like I could go run a marathon. Not that I can, but I just felt really, really good. And I mean, yeah. So
Taylor, thanks so much for sharing. I think one of the hardest things about movement is just kind of getting started. And then once you start, you can kind of more, pretty instantly feel those positive results kicking in, or those endorphins. So thanks so much for sharing. Anyone else want to share? Blood pressure, absolutely. I saw another note about when I incorporate more movement, I tend to make better food choices. Yes, goes hand in hand for sure. Great. Okay, so now, sorry, nope, going the wrong way. So now we're gonna just kind of switch gears and talk about, why it's difficult. I'm sure, most of you are here today because it's hard to fit it into your day. I know it's hard for me to fit in. I have full-time mom or full-time. Well, I'm a full-time mom, but I'm also a full-time employee. I have 2 small children, and life is busy. It gets, it's hard to fit it in all the time. So, just wondering, what challenges you all are feeling right now related to fitting in that movement, if you wouldn't mind unmuting or again sharing in the chat. Another great note about when you take a walk, takes your mind off whatever you're working on at your desk so you can clear your mind. Another great benefit. So why is it difficult? Workload, child feeling unmotivated, low energy. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna potentially hit on some other things. I'll keep watching the chat. But here are a few barriers that I kind of framed up for this discussion today. So time constraints, and I'm going to kind of go into detail about kind of what we do with these barriers on the next slide. But time constraints, we're all busy. It's easy to kind of let those, well-being things slide, like sleep and, managing your stress, moving your body, going to the grocery store, prepping meals, all of that is definitely difficult when you don't have much time. The next one is lack of motivation. This is so, I think, common. And this time of the year, there's a lot of pressure, New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to be more physically active this year. And then you just, that leads right into the next one, overwhelmed by goals. So maybe you have a goal of, like it was noted earlier, running a marathon or not even that, doing 20-minute walk 3 times a week. And maybe you don't get to it 2 of the days. And then that feels really overwhelming because you're like, I set a goal and now I can't, I've already, 1 week in, not reached it. So that can be really hard. There's also potentially physical limitations. Maybe you have an injury or you're unable to do, fitness or movement type of exercises that you did in the past. That can make it really difficult to get started. Financial constraints. So, maybe you have to, your hours of work, or maybe you have another job, or just, sometimes the gym membership isn't, something you can afford. And then the last one up there, I'm kind of going in this little circle order here, but falling into the comparison trap. So social media, especially this time of year, I'm seeing all over. There's like, a lot of people doing X, Y, and Z program that worked for them. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of, oh, I should do that, or I should, change, overhaul all of what I'm doing. And why can't I be more like that person? And that can be really overwhelming and unmotivating. And a pretty large barrier for some folks. I'm going to look in the chat again and see right now. It's hard to take a walk outside. Oh yeah, definitely. Icy, cold, snow, full-time work schedule definitely can be a barrier for sure. Anything else that you're thinking of that I didn't mention or that hasn't been mentioned already? I also saw a note of if you don't set a time specifically to get moving, then it doesn't happen, which is totally relatable and common for sure. Okay. So if things pop up, please feel free to engage. So what do we do about these barriers? So I just kind of put some thoughts into what we can do to overcome these specific barriers. So starting with the time constraints, something that I'm guilty of and, in my career have really worked to help people with is, as a culture, we are really focused on those big goals and they might not be achievable right now. And that is really hard when you kind of want to do something you can't do quite yet. Or you just need to get started on something to kind of build that momentum. So there's this skill or a tool called habit stacking. I'm not sure if any of you have heard about it, but the idea is stacking a habit on top of a habit that already is very solidified. So brushing your teeth in the morning. So every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to do 1 push-up. Every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to try to walk walk for a minute in place. And I know that seems like so small, but that consistency over time could turn into every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to go outside around my block and walk for 10 minutes. And when you're at work, there's potentially certain things that you could stack it to as well. Before I get in my car to go home for the day, I'm going to do 3 laps around the building so just trying to stack a habit on top of a habit that is already consistent and that you can really rely on to add additional things to. I'm going to go over to lack of motivation. There is, in my career, I've seen hundreds of people that hope that they can come into my office and I can just wave the magic wand and increase their motivation, right? And I wish I could do that for them and for myself. It's just unfortunately not the way it works. And there's a lot of research that I find fascinating from BJ Fogg. He's a researcher out of Harvard University. And the way he talks about motivation is all about, making a behavior easier to do. So one of the examples that I use all the time is, if you, my office, you can't see it, and I'm actually not in my office right now, but right outside my window is the M, and at the University of Montana. And a lot of students are like, I want to get moving. I'd really like to, have XYZ fitness goal. And so a way to kind of help them start in a way that's more likely to increase their motivation to regularly move their bodies is starting to make the goal easier. So instead of the goal to, if I asked them, how motivated would you feel to hike up the M with me right now, they most likely would be like, not motivated at all. And even not motivated, if I put them on my back, not that I could do that, and hiked them up the mountain, because it's too hard in their mind to complete that goal. And if we set goals that are too hard, our motivation is going to be really low. And we're going to go into more detail about this specifically a little bit later on. So trying to make the goal easier. So how motivated do you feel about walking around the block, 1 time? Oh, motivated. I could do that. No problem. And so one of the harder things is like getting people to buy into the idea of starting small, because it doesn't seem good enough or impactful enough to help them reach their long-term goal. And, kind of trying to stretch the mind and think back to easier, 10 minutes of walking 7 days a week for 52 weeks out of the year is significantly better for your overall health than, maybe 1 month of doing 30-minute walks 3 times that week. So the consistency, the regularity of it is really what you're looking for long-term to get those benefits of the movement. So how do I make it easier to achieve something and set goals that are actually achievable to maintain motivation long-term? Physical limitations, easier said than done, but focusing on what you can do instead of what you can't do, trying to work with potentially a physical therapist or other folks to help you define what a good fitness plan is for you, which could mean, movement doesn't necessarily have to be physical, movement forward. It could be you stretching, doing, chair yoga, doing things that are accessible to you and not, don't involve a lot of extra steps. Falling into the comparison trap. So really trying to limit time on social media. And sometimes that also means like not maybe, everyone has an opinion about what you should and could be doing related to, health and fitness. So maybe not share specific things with people that you really don't want to hear from, or that might have feedback or information that is not going to help you. Financial constraints. If your physical well-being allows for it, walking is one of the most effective and efficient ways to build your well-being, not only physical, but mental health. So, really trying to focus on getting that movement in by walking. And yes, difficult this time of year. Thinking through how you can do that safely is obviously important. overwhelmed by goals. We're going to talk about this more in detail after we do this little exercise quiz on the next few slides, but assessing your readiness to change. And this is really kind of honing back into that motivation. I'm going to kind of teach you something that is going to kind of assess where you're at and make sure the goals that you have related to your movement are in alignment with where you're at and not kind of putting you into a place that you're not there, and yet you're setting goals that are hard to achieve long term. So we'll talk more about that on the next few slides. I'm just going to check the chat really quick. Yeah, I'd like to work out at the gym, but they have limited hours. Definitely can be a barrier for sure. Okay. Oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry, with my Canvas slides. I try to get really fancy with these, and then I am not finding my clicker right in front of me. So just briefly, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what are the recommendations for movement, just generally speaking for Americans. So cardio, we really want to aim for about 150 minutes of cardiovascular exercise per week, or at 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Again, maybe you know this information, maybe not, maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not, maybe it's like, there's no way I can do that. I spent a lot of time working in diabetes prevention for the first part of my career, and it's a CDC, Centers for Disease Control training that was really focused on preventing type 2 diabetes. And so this was one of the main goals. And one of the ways we really helped the participants achieve this goal is, again, breaking it down and figuring out what works best for them. And it can be overwhelming to think about those numbers, but again, starting where you're at, maybe for you, a better goal is 5,000 steps and then working on from there. And with that cardio exercise, we just want to think about just increasing your heart rate enough that it would be, you could still carry on a conversation, but it's not, it's something that you can maintain long term. So you feel like you are on the rate of exertion on a 1 to 10, you're kind of up in the 4, 5, 6 range, and you're getting those benefits easily. You don't need to be doing high intensity running to get those cardiovascular benefits. And strength training is one of the most effective ways we can combat aging and kind of what comes with getting older. So really trying to think about how you can, build in some strength training into your week, and building that muscle is also one of the most effective ways that we can maintain a healthy metabolism that can kind of effectively burn through that food consumption that we're eating. So thinking through how you can build in some weight bearing or strength training exercises into your week. And the next few slides, we're going to take a little quiz and kind of figure out what these things could look like for you based on kind of your personality. And the one thing with strength training too, this could be yoga, Pilates, doesn't necessarily have to be lifting weights. Lifting weights is great, but if that's not for you, there's definitely other ways that we can get in that same benefit. Okay, so trying to think through keeping things as fun and engaging as we can. I want you to either pull out your phone, type on your computer, pull out a piece of paper and a pen, old school, but I'm going to walk you through a movement personality quiz. So you're going to take this quiz, and it's going to kind of, at the end, give you some information that would be helpful to kind of create a plan that is more in alignment with your personality that potentially you're more likely to stick to. So the first question is, well, I'll pause for a second. Hopefully everyone has a pen or something to keep track of your answers, because you will need to know really just A, B, or C. You don't have to write the actual response. So how do you feel about working out with others? A, I love being a part of a group. B, I prefer to do solo activities or working at my own pace. And C, it depends on my mood. Number 2 is, what motivates you to stay active? A, having fun and socializing. B, setting personal records and achieving goals. Or C, exploring new places or trying new things. Question 3. What type of environment do you enjoy most? Indoors with upbeat music and good vibes, outdoors surrounded by nature, anywhere as long as as long as it challenges me. So what kind of environment do you like? Question 4. How do you like to unwind after a long day? A, dancing or doing something playful. B, meditating, stretching, or doing yoga. Or C, going for a walk or a run to clear your mind. Last question here. How much time do you like to spend on a workout? A, 30 to 60 minutes in a group class or social activity. B, 15 to 30 minutes, quick and efficient is your style. 60 plus minutes, I'm all about endurance. So if I need to go back, because you're not sure on some of your responses, let me know. I'm happy to do that. No, I thought I had this. Sorry. These little arrows are sneaking away from me. So the results. So I want you to go ahead and count how many times you circled each letter. So just spend some time, how many A's do you have? How many B's do you have? How many C's do you have? And once you get there, you can kind of see up on the slides here, but if you had mostly A's, you're the social mover. You thrive in a group setting and love activities that combine fitness and fun. So you'd be great in a kind of a group fitness style workout based environment. If you had mostly B's, you like the solo explorer. So you enjoy working out alone or in a peaceful setting. Activities like yoga, Pilates, hiking, or swimming would suit you best. And if you're mostly C's, you're the adventurer. You crave a variety and love the outdoors. Try trail running, rock climbing, paddleboarding, or mountain biking. So if anyone would like to share their results or any feedback on the quiz, if you're like, that was helpful, that wasn't, would love to hear what you thought or what you are. I'm kind of tied between them, depending on the day. Mostly I'm a social mover and a solo explorer. I think kind of depending on the day and my mood, I can kind of bounce between those two. But definitely not a C. I do not want to do rock climbing. That's my nightmare. See some things coming up in the definitely A, depending on the day. Cool. Okay, need accountability of others. Great. Mix of all three. Cool. Divided between B's and C's. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks. I hope that was helpful. And I think it will be helpful as we move into the next part of the workshop, creating more of a personalized plan for you to, build upon the movement plan you have currently or work to add in more movement if that is your goal. And hopefully I can get it to just go one slide and not all the way to the end. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, right when we were talking about the the barriers. This is kind of in alignment with the trans theoretical model, the stages of change. Some of you are probably familiar with that. This is, in my opinion, one of the most helpful tools that we have to make sure that we're setting goals that are achievable and that really help maintain and increase motivation. So I want you to think about a goal related to fitness that you have right now. Maybe one of the reasons that you came to the workshop today is because you want to do X. I want to increase my movement to, let's say, going for a walk 3 times per week. So as specific as you can make it, and we're going to kind of work through this goal in the next few slides. So I do want to give you some time to think through, like, what is it that you want to achieve? And I want it to be more tangible. So to give you an example, less tangible goal related to, walking would be, I want to walk more. So if you can make it more specific, like I want to walk this many miles, or I want to do this many minutes, it's easier to assess kind of the readiness to change if it's more specific versus too broad. One of the other goals that's pretty common this time of year, right, is I want to lose weight, which, we could talk all about, have another workshop on, but that's really an outcome of a changed behavior. So in order for that outcome to happen, what are the behaviors that need to be changed to get that outcome? So if that is a part of your goal, I want you to think through what are behaviors that you want to change, and let's assess one of them per, one of them at a time, because if we change too much too quickly, that's also really difficult to maintain long term. So I'm going to pause for a second and let you think about your goal, and I'm going to kind of walk you through this next part. You're open to putting it in the chat, would love to hear, but can be a personal, can be personal, so don't feel like you need to share. Okay, so you have that goal in your mind. We are also going to spend on the next few slides building out more of a specific plan. So if you can write it down, that would be helpful for the next part we're going to go through. So I want you to think about that specific goal, and I want you to think about how important is this change for you. So you can see on there, I have a scale, and it's kind of has red in the not ready to change. In the middle, we have kind of the yellow, not sure, and then it kind of moves into the ready to change. So that, is helpful. So I want you to give it a number though, and you can kind of take, the red and the green and the yellow out of it. Just be honest with yourself. How important is this change for you? Write that number down. Have it in your mind. And then the next question is, how confident are you that you can make this change? So those two numbers combined are essentially the kind of the magic. If I had a magic wand, if I had a magic solution, those two numbers, in order for us to create a action-oriented goal, meaning a goal where you're actually taking action and a behavior change, meaning you are setting a goal to actually physically walk versus you are setting a goal to buy the walking shoes or to, discuss your, route. That would be kind of more in the not sure if you're ready to change yet. And if you're not ready to change, if you're feeling like, like there's a lot of examples out there of the person that potentially is a tobacco user, and they, go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you need to quit smoking. And they're like, I don't want to, I know it's bad for me. I'm not interested in changing. Us telling them they need to quit smoking, or chewing or whatever they're using is likely going to push them more in the red than take them to the green. And that's a lot of kind of what happens with motivation too, is it can be really frustrating when, maybe this change isn't important to you. So let's focus on something that is important and that you're ready to change, so that you can kind of build upon that momentum. And sometimes it can bleed over to other areas. So If you answered on these questions kind of in the not ready, not sure zone, I would encourage you to do two things. One is that maybe you want to think about a goal that you are ready to change. It doesn't have to be movement based. It could be anything related to your well-being. It could be drinking one sip of water. And the reason I'm encouraging that again is that if we can set goals that we're ready to change and that we're taking action on, we can kind of build upon that motivation. That can really be helpful for more of that long-term sustainability of overall improvement of well-being. Okay, I get really excited talking about behavior change. I'm going to pause for a second. Do we have any questions or comments or thoughts before we kind of work into building your plan that hopefully you can take and use right when we get done today? Love that. Goal, do a plank for 1 minute, do my small weight routine with a 5-pound weight, and you're 9 to 7. So you're ready to make that plan. Love that. Thanks for sharing that, Peggy. Okay. So I am a lover of SMART goal setting. So that's essentially what we're going to do today. Maybe you know of SMART goal setting. Maybe this is the first time. I do have a little different of a spin than I think some folks do. But SMART goal setting stands for specific, measurable, attainable, and time bound, or relevant and time bound. Some people use reward and relevance kind of interchangeably. But I really want to use this hands-on with you all, that you can kind of set a specific plan for yourself upon leaving today. So the first is specific. So get specific. Maybe you did that when we assessed that readiness to change on the previous slide, but maybe now you need to go more specific. The more specific you can be, the better. So I put an example up there. I plan to go for a 15-minute walk at 12 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You could even ask, have more details to that. You're at work, so I'm gonna go for a walk for 15 minutes at 12 p.m. from my office to, 7.5 minutes this way and 7.5 minutes back. Some people, more details is super, super helpful. Other people, it's too overwhelming. So you've got to kind of know yourself and kind of what would be helpful, what might not be so helpful. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. What is that specific goal for you? If you want to put it in the chat, love to see it. If you don't, again, it's personal, totally understand. I will work out 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, for 30 minutes. At least one of my coworkers, and Mondays and Wednesdays will be at 5:15 and Tuesdays. That's great. Thanks so much for sharing, Heather. That's an awesome plan. Okay, so the next is measurable. So how are you going to track your progress with your goal? So this can look like many different things depending on your personality, your preference, how accessible these things are for you. But it is really important and helpful to actually track the progress you're making towards your goal. You have a really great plan that you just put in chat. Thanks for sharing. But if some people, I guess if they're at specific times and they're in your calendar, it's easier to kind of track them that way. But one of the main reasons that, tracking or measuring your goals is essential is that's easy to forget. Like, in 2 weeks from now, if you weren't tracking it, it'd be like, did I do something on Tuesday the 7th, or did I not? And so having a way to track is helpful. And then you can kind of see, oh my gosh, I potentially had 1,000 more steps today than I did last Tuesday. That's awesome. So just a way of tracking your progress every time you go for that walk on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe you have a tracking mechanism watch that you wear, you can take a picture, or, have it in your calendar. So that's kind of your accountability and or your way of, making sure that you are completing your goal. The other thing that I don't have on here that can be really helpful for some people. Again, just kind of depends on personality type and how much detail, can be kind of creating some action steps. So, thinking through what is the first thing that I need to do in order to make sure that I get my walk in on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, if I think about it more, I need to make sure that I pack a lunch, because if I don't have a lunch packed, then I'm more likely to, need to go get lunch instead of walking on my lunch. I need to make sure that I have walking shoes. Okay, how am I going to remember to bring my walking shoes? Okay, maybe I should leave walking shoes in my office so that I have them accessible to me. So just thinking through some of those like really fine details that sometimes we overlook, and that, can cause some frustration when you get to noon and you're like, yes, I want to do this, but I'm so hungry, I can't walk and I don't have any food. And so, just thinking through some of these, potential barriers ahead of time can be really helpful. And that kind of leads into attainable too. How do I make my goal easier to achieve? How do I, think through any other potential barriers that could get in my way? So in the last chat was super helpful. They named it, they were going to kind of go with other people to work out. That can be a really great motivator. Can sometimes be challenging for some people. If those people cancel on them, then they feel not so motivated. So I think thinking through having some backup plans or other things they can do if that does happen. Also just kind of naming barriers. You know yourself, you know what gets in the way of your ability to follow through on the plan, writing those barriers out, whether it's, busyness with work or, lack of motivation, and then kind of naming, okay, what is the way that I can overcome that barrier in advance? So when that barrier comes up, like, I'm tired at the end of the day, I don't want to go to the gym, you already have the solution in mind, kind of in a plan of what you're going to do to kind of still fall through on that plan. And it's just like with any new change or behavior, if you can kind of form that new pathway, showing up for yourself, doing the things that you kind of set for yourself, you form a new pathway in your brain to say, yes, I can do this, I can show up for myself, and kind of can remove some of those potentially past experiences saying, oh, I can't, this was too difficult, or, if X happens, Y can't happen. So again, just kind of trying to think about what you can do to solve potential solutions in advance and focus on building those new pathways in your brain, and trying to kind of, discard and kind of let those other thoughts stay in 2024 and not come with you in 2025. So moving on to relevant, or reward. Some people are very motivated by rewards. I tend to be more of a fan of, just making it more relevant to your overall why and why the goal is important to you. But other people are really, motivated by rewards. So if you, walk from Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at the end of 2 weeks, you'll buy yourself a new pair of shoes, and that's going to be potentially really motivating for you. So it's not always sustainable to continue, depending on how big the reward is. Maybe a coffee every 2 weeks isn't that big of a deal. But you just have to kind of see, again, what do you think is helpful for you? But really connecting that relevant to your why. So if your why is to have increased energy, increased mood, feel better in your clothes, making sure that direct connection to, that evening workout at 5:15 after work, you connect it right back to, I want to feel better. I want to have more energy. I want to feel better in my clothes. So there's that connection point where it's like, this is the reason I'm doing it. Yes, it's hard right now, but I will feel better in 10 minutes once I get going. When you're kind of in that zone of, unsure if you can do it, or just feeling like, you're not ready for it that day, it's really easy to kind of go into, oh, it's not going to matter. What's one day? And truthfully, yeah, what is one day? But that's kind of a slippery slope, because then when you start doing that again, it's harder to get started again, potentially. And so just kind of, again, knowing your personality. You can also adjust days, right? Like Monday, Wednesday, Friday could turn into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and kind of, being flexible with yourself and seeing what works best in that week. The last is time bound. So really trying to figure out, and maybe I suggest a week, but you could do 2 weeks, sticking with a specific time frame, and then sitting down and assessing, did that work? Did that not work? What are other barriers that came up that I didn't anticipate coming up? And how can I make sure that I can kind of adjust and plan accordingly for the future? So I'm going to pause for a second. What does anyone have a SMART goal they want to share all of? I will lift weights for 20 minutes. Great. Love that goal. Comments, questions about the SMART goal setting process overall. And this ideally would be somewhere that I think our phones are our easiest place to put these types of goals, but that you would go back to on a regular basis and look and review and build upon. And it might change and evolve over time. You're not probably going to set a new goal every week. I would not recommend that. I would probably stick to, setting a goal, maintaining that goal for a couple of weeks, and then adding additional days, potentially, more time. Just depends on what exactly your goals are. So we have a few minutes. I want to kind of, again, be mindful of the group and kind of what feels good for you. I hope that you have a space that maybe you could go walk. If you'd like me to lead you all through a little, movement sessions, just sitting here in our chairs, I'm happy to do that. Also happy to take any questions, comments, but that is the majority of the planned content that I had for today. So we had a lot more people hop on that I realized. So we have about 16 people here. Great. Does anyone? Well, we could do it this way. Why don't we, if you would like to stay with me and you don't have any other questions, I will lead those of us that are here through a 5-minute kind of stretching in our chairs activity. If you would like to go do something else, move out of your office or go for a walk outside, I release you to do that with hopefully the 13 minutes you have between now and another meeting. So yeah, I'll give a few minutes to those of you that want to pop off, and we'll get started here in the next minute with those that want to stay.
Haley, as folks are transitioning, I'm wondering, do you have any tools or apps or anything that you can suggest that maybe like ping you a certain amount of time to like get up and do something when you're at work? Or maybe that could be something that you send at a later time if you have a resource like that. I think that could be really helpful for me if you maybe have that.
Yeah, yes, I can follow up with some resources. I think, they're very popular and maybe not always the most helpful, but Apple Watches or Fitbits, they do have like an I don't know if it's automatic, but most of them are set up in a way that if you don't stand up every 50 minutes, it will ping you and say you got to stand up and move, which some people feel frustrated by, but I think it's a helpful reminder for sure. I don't know about I know more apps for kind of following along, like fitness, yoga type of workouts that might be helpful for folks. I don't necessarily know of apps that ping to move, but I could look into it for sure.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, we still have everyone here. That's so exciting to me. Okay. So, I am just going to do this seated just for inclusivity purposes, but if you want to stand, please feel free to do that. We're just going to sit in our chair and just go ahead and roll our shoulders back. And as we do that, we're just going to take some big inhales through our nose and out through our mouth. And really try to think about all of us sitting in a desk all day long. We kind of have this natural, I'm terrible with my posture. You know, at the end of the day, I'm like hunched over, my legs crossed, so terrible. So thinking about pulling your shoulder blades back and really thinking about engaging that core as we sit here and do those shoulder rolls. We're going to switch directions now and just bring them forward. So as you're sitting here in your chair, one of the ways to think about really engaging that core is just try to tense that muscle in your abdominal area and pull that belly button to your spine and, having that back nice and straight. And honestly, I hope you all kind of felt it when we sat up a little bit more, we automatically engage our core. When we're kind of hunched over, our core is naturally more relaxed and we're not having that tension. So that might be a motivator to get us in good posture. We can engage our core more in that way. So now we're going to take our arms out to the side. Sorry, you can't see me very well, but I have my arms all the way out to the side, straight, slight bend in my shoulders. I'm going to move myself a little bit more actually. And then we're going to do some shoulder circles right here with our arms. And you might start to be like, oh man, I actually kind of feel this in my arms. So that's great. Just our body weight does a lot for us. Now we're going to switch directions. Taking those big inhales through your nose, out through your mouth. Now we're going to take both arms down to our sides and we're going to take a big inhale up and stretch your arms up. You can interlock your hands if you'd like to, or just reach them up. And we're going to take that big inhale and we're going to exhale down. And as we exhale down, I want you to take yourself a little out in your seat so you can take those arms behind you. If you can interlock them, great. If not, you can just reach behind and we're just trying to, again, open up that chest, feel that nice stretch right through that front of your chest here and kind of try to relax those shoulders down and back, taking big inhales and exhales through your mouth. We're going to take those arms back up overhead. Another big stretch. Try to stretch a little bit higher this time if you can. You can kind of reach side to side. And again, we're going to take those arms behind your back, interlock them, and pull up. Go ahead and release those. And we're going to just get that nice posture back. Our core is tight. Our shoulders are rolled back. And now we're just going to do some neck rolls. So we're going to go down, bringing that chin to your chest. And then we're going to bring it to the left ear, to the left shoulder. Then we're going to bring it all the way up, right ear to right shoulder and down. And I just want you to kind of work through this as it feels comfortable for you. Really trying to release any tension that is in that upper neck. And maybe this doesn't feel good to you. That's okay. Do something else. You can kind of do more of those shoulder rolls. You can just do those stretches where you bring your chin to your chest and up. That can be really helpful. And just kind of feel what you feel like now. Are you feeling a little less tension in that upper body? So now I want you to sit back into your chair and I want you to take your right leg and cross it over your left. So you're kind of seated and kind of a little half crisscross position. So you'll feel this stretch in that bent knee hip area. This is a great exercise that you can do very easily at your desk and can be really helpful for those tight hips, which can be exacerbated by sitting all the time. Big inhales and exhales. If you want to bring that leg a little closer to you so you can get that stretch a little deeper, go for it. You can kind of move side to side. I like to kind of try to get my hips to open up a little bit more in stretches like this. And when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and put that leg down and we're going to bring up that other leg, so that left leg. And again, opening up that hip, taking those big inhales through your nose and out through your mouth. Thinking about keeping that core nice and strong where we're sitting here as well. Closer to deepen that stretch. You're sitting here thinking about pulling those shoulders back, thinking about your core, and not holding your breath. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and take that other leg down, and we're just going to kind of loosen up our bodies one last time with a big inhale up over the head, and exhale. So this was a very quick movement stretch, but I hope I feel better after doing just a little stretching, because I am very bad at stretching. That is something I really need to work on. Stretching is not my strong suit. I will follow up though. There is a ton of great yoga chair sessions that are on YouTube, very accessible. You can put AirPods in and do it at your desk. There's also, a variety of different, content that I could share with you as well. We have about 5 minutes, and I'm happy to stay on and answer individual questions or, take any feedback that you might have. I really appreciate having the opportunity to talk with you all about movement today. I hope you got something out of it, and here's to more movement in 2025. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kaylee. That was awesome. I really loved the movement at the end. I am so sore. I'm already. That was really good. I did
Okay.
leave the link in the chat. If you would all go and complete the evaluation, that would be really great. And otherwise, the floor is open for questions.
Thanks, Desiree.
I'm wondering how important it is for those of us who are C's and A's for us to have an accountability buddy.
Yeah, I think all of us can really benefit from accountability buddy. I mean, I have a coaching title, so of course I feel kind of biased about the power of accountability and support. But yeah, I think that all of us can benefit with just, some structure and support. If we can share our goal with someone else, I think we're way more likely. Well, research even shows that we're way more likely to stick to it. If someone else knows, then oh, no one else knows about my goal to do X, Y, and Z. Why is it going to matter? Type of thing.
Exactly. Any other questions? If not, I will pause. I will stop the recording.